My twin brother showed up drunk at our dad's house after I exposed his lifelong obsession with copying everything about me. My twin brother Marcus, 31M, and I, 31F, have always had a complicated relationship right from our childhood. Even though we're not identical twins, we were always together growing up and used to be extremely close. As kids, we did practically everything together, shared the same friend groups, and generally just enjoyed each other's company. But somewhere around middle school, things started changing between us. What began as normal sibling closeness slowly morphed into something really disturbing. Marcus started copying literally everything about me, from the way I dressed to the hobbies I picked up, and even the academic subjects I showed interest in. At first, I thought it was kind of cute, you know? Like he admired his big sister. I'm older by 12 minutes and never let him forget it, and wanted to be like me. But then it started getting weird and uncomfortable because he went from wanting to dress like me and pick up the same hobbies to actively trying to infiltrate my friend groups and going after the same people I was interested in romantically. By high school, it had gotten completely out of hand. He would sign up for the same classes as me, join any club I became part of, and even try to befriend my friends behind my back. I started to feel like I couldn't have anything that was just mine. I couldn't develop my own identity because he was constantly there, copying everything and trying to be exactly like me. It was suffocating and honestly really creepy. The breaking point came during our senior year of high school. I had been dating this guy named Chris for a few months, and we were planning to go to prom together. I was really excited about it because Chris was someone I genuinely liked, and for once, it seemed like I had something in my life that Marcus couldn't copy or insert himself into. But I was wrong. A week before prom, Chris suddenly became really distant and eventually told me he couldn't go with me anymore. I was confused and hurt until one of my friends told me that Marcus had been spreading rumors about me to Chris, saying that I was cheating on him and that I had been talking badly about him behind his back. I was absolutely furious when I found out. I confronted Marcus as soon as I got home that day, and we had this massive argument where I finally called him out on all his creepy behavior over the years. I told him he needed to stop trying to copy my entire life and sabotaging the things that were important to me just because he couldn't have them. Instead of apologizing or even acknowledging what he'd done, he completely flipped the script and accused me of being threatened by him. He said I was just insecure because he was better at everything than me and that I couldn't stand the competition. Then he brought our parents into it, claiming they had always favored me over him and that's why I thought I was so special. This was completely untrue. Our parents had always been extremely careful to treat us equally. In fact, if anything, they sometimes gave Marcus more attention because he was always so competitive and seemed to need more validation. But in his mind, he had built up this whole narrative where I was the favored child and he was the victim who had to struggle for recognition. That fight completely changed our relationship. After that, we barely spoke to each other throughout college. I went to a university on the East Coast, and he went to one on the West Coast, so the distance made it easy to avoid each other. For years, we only saw each other at major family holidays, and even then, we kept our interactions to a minimum. It was sad, especially for our parents who didn't fully understand what had happened between us, but I was actually relieved to finally be developing my own identity without feeling like I was being copied all the time. 3 years ago, our mom passed away suddenly from a heart attack. It was devastating for all of us, and it temporarily brought the family together. For our dad's sake, Marcus and I made an effort to be civil to each other at family gatherings. We weren't exactly friends, but we weren't openly hostile either. There was always this underlying tension though, like we were both just waiting for the other to say or do something that would trigger another fight. During this time, I met and fell in love with Nathan. We got married 2 years ago in a small ceremony. Because of COVID restrictions, we kept it small, but it was still beautiful and exactly what we wanted. Marcus attended the wedding with a date, but I could tell he was uncomfortable the whole time. He kept making these little comments about how rushed our relationship was and questioning if we really knew each other well enough to get married. I ignored him because I didn't want drama at my wedding, but it was clear that he was still harboring these negative feelings toward me. Shortly after our wedding, I was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune condition that caused significant weight loss and a host of other health complications. It was a really difficult time, but Nathan was my rock through it all. He took care of me, came to all my doctor's appointments, and never once made me feel like I was a burden, even when I was at my worst. A few weeks ago, my condition started improving significantly. The treatments were finally working, and I was starting to feel like myself again. Nathan was so happy about my progress that he decided to organize a small celebration party. He invited our closest friends and family, including Marcus. I was hesitant about Marcus coming, but Nathan insisted that he should be there since he was family, and I agreed because I didn't want to cause any drama. That was a mistake. Throughout the entire party, Marcus kept making these uncomfortable comments about my appearance, particularly my weight loss. He kept saying things like I looked like a skeleton and asked if I was deliberately starving myself for attention. He even suggested to some of our relatives that my illness might be psychosomatic, implying that I was making myself sick to get sympathy. I tried to ignore him as much as possible because I knew engaging would only make things worse, but his comments were making everyone uncomfortable, and it was putting a damper on what was supposed to be a happy occasion. After the party, Marcus's girlfriend Vanessa approached me privately. She apologized for his behavior and said she had never seen this side of him before. They had been dating for about 6 months, and this was only the second or third time she had been around our family. I was surprised by her apology, but I appreciated it. I casually mentioned that this kind of jealous behavior was pretty typical for Marcus when it came to me, but that I was used to it by now. It was just a casual comment on my part, but apparently, it led to a huge fight between them later that night. Marcus called me the next day, absolutely furious. He accused me of deliberately trying to sabotage his relationship with Vanessa and claimed that I had spent hours telling her horrible things about him, which wasn't true at all. I tried to explain that I had only made one brief comment, and that I actually appreciated Vanessa's maturity in apologizing for his behavior, but he wouldn't listen. Since then, he's been contacting various family members and mutual friends, trying to turn them against me. He's claiming that I'm jealous of his happiness with Vanessa and that I'm deliberately trying to ruin his life because I can't stand to see him happy. It's absurd, especially considering that I'm the one who's been struggling with a serious health condition while he's been perfectly healthy. I spoke to my dad about the situation, even though I usually try to keep him out of our conflicts. He told me that Marcus has been expressing a lot of jealousy about my marriage. Apparently, Marcus has been complaining to him that it's unfair that I found someone who loves me enough to stick by me through a serious illness, while he struggled to maintain relationships. He seems to see my marriage as yet another thing I have that he doesn't, rather than understanding that relationships aren't competitions or possessions. Nathan thinks I should finally stand up for myself and tell everyone the truth about Marcus's behavior over the years. He says that I've been letting Marcus get away with too much for too long, and that's why he feels entitled to keep behaving this way. Part of me agrees with him, but I'm also worried about the impact more drama could have on my recovery. I'm still not at 100% health-wise, and stress can trigger flare-ups of my condition. On top of that, I don't want to drag my dad into more family conflict. He's still grieving the loss of my mom, and I know it breaks his heart to see his children at odds with each other. But at the same time, I can't just let Marcus continue to spread lies about me and try to turn our family against me. I'm kind of in a dilemma right now. Ida for wanting to finally expose my brother's obsessive behavior and set the record straight with our family. Update 1, it's been about 2 weeks since my original post, and a lot has happened in that time. First of all, I want to thank everyone for the supportive comments and messages. Reading them really helped me realize that I wasn't overreacting to the situation and that it was time I finally stood up for myself. After talking it over with Nathan and a few close friends, and even discussing it with my dad, I decided that I couldn't just keep quiet anymore. For years, I've been trying to take the high road by ignoring Marcus's behavior, hoping that eventually he would grow up and stop this unhealthy competition. But all that did was enable him to continue, and now it had reached a point where he was actively trying to damage my relationships with other people. So, I decided to make a detailed social media post explaining the history between Marcus and me. I didn't use any inflammatory language or make any accusations that I couldn't back up with facts. I simply laid out the pattern of behavior that had been going on since we were teenagers, his constant need to copy everything about me, the sabotage of my relationship in high school, and his recent behavior at my recovery celebration. I explained how he was now trying to make me out to be the villain by claiming I was trying to ruin his relationship with Vanessa, when in reality, all I had done was acknowledge his behavior to her after she approached me. The response was overwhelming. So many family members, mutual friends, and even a couple of Marcus's ex-girlfriends commented on the post, confirming that they had witnessed his unhealthy fixation on my life. Some of our cousins shared stories of how Marcus would constantly talk about me at family gatherings, alternating between criticizing me and trying to one-up me. One of his exes even revealed that a major reason for their breakup was his constant comparisons between her and me, and his obsession with competing with me in every aspect of life. Several people mentioned that they had always sensed something off about our dynamic but hadn't realized the extent of it until I laid it all out. Many apologized for not speaking up sooner or for sometimes buying into Marcus's version of events. It was validating to know that I wasn't crazy or imagining things, but also sad to realize how many people had noticed his behavior but didn't say anything. The most surprising responses came from a couple of his former close friends who confirmed that Marcus would talk about me constantly, in what they described as an unhealthy and obsessive way. One friend mentioned that Marcus would often go through my social media accounts looking for things to criticize or copy. Another said that Marcus would get visibly angry whenever someone complimented me or my accomplishments came up in conversation. Of course, Marcus didn't take this well. He made his own post claiming that he was the victim of family favoritism and that everyone was taking my side because I was the golden child. He portrayed himself as the underdog who had always lived in his twin sister's shadow, twisting the narrative to make himself appear sympathetic. He even brought up instances from our childhood where he claimed our parents had favored me, though the examples he gave were either completely fabricated or grossly misrepresented. But with so many people corroborating my side of the story, his claims fell flat. Even our extended family members who had initially been neutral started reaching out to me privately to express their support. Many of them admitted that they had always sensed something was off about Marcus's attitude toward me but hadn't realized how deep it went. In my post, I made it clear that I wasn't asking anyone to cut Marcus off or take sides. I just wanted to defend myself against his accusations and explain why our relationship was so strained. But despite this, many family members have naturally distanced themselves from Marcus after seeing his manipulative behavior fully exposed. His response to being called out, doubling down, playing the victim, and refusing to acknowledge any wrongdoing, only reinforced the picture I had painted of him. Vanessa reached out to me privately to thank me for my honesty. She said that after our conversation at the party, she had started noticing patterns in Marcus's behavior that concerned her, and my post had confirmed her suspicions. She didn't say whether they were still together, but I got the impression that their relationship was on thin ice. As for me, I've decided not to engage any further with Marcus or respond to any of his counter-accusations. I've said what needed to be said, and continuing the public back and forth would only create more drama. My focus now is on my health and the positive relationships in my life. I'm still recovering from my autoimmune condition, and stress is the last thing I need right now. Nathan has been incredibly supportive throughout all of this. He says he's proud of me for finally standing up for myself after years of letting Marcus's behavior slide. My dad is in a difficult position, torn between his two children, but he told me that he understood why I felt the need to speak out and that he hoped this might eventually lead to some kind of resolution between Marcus and me, though we both know that's probably wishful thinking at this point. For now, I'm taking a step back from the whole situation. I've blocked Marcus on all my social media platforms and asked mutual friends not to relay messages from him to me. I need space to heal, both physically from my illness and emotionally from this lifelong dynamic with my twin. Maybe someday we can have a civil relationship again, but that would require Marcus to acknowledge his behavior and make real changes, which honestly seems unlikely based on his reaction so far. Update 2. It's been about 3 weeks since my last update, and the situation with Marcus has evolved in ways I didn't expect. After I made my post, pretty much everyone in our extended family stopped speaking to him. We've blocked each other on social media, but mutual friends and relatives have told me that he's been continuously posting bitter things about me, criticizing my appearance, my marriage, and even suggesting that I'm exaggerating my illness for attention. I've asked people to stop sending me screenshots of his posts because I genuinely don't want to know what he's saying anymore. I'm focused on my recovery in my own life, and constantly being updated about his latest attacks is just unnecessary stress. The biggest development is that Vanessa has ended their relationship. Nathan follows her on Instagram and saw her post announcing that she and Marcus had decided to part ways. She requested privacy and didn't go into details about the reasons for the breakup, but given the timing, it's not hard to guess that our family drama played a role in her decision. When I first heard about this, I felt a pang of guilt. I know Marcus was serious about Vanessa, and despite our issues, I don't take pleasure in seeing him hurt. But then I reminded myself that this was a consequence of his own actions, not mine. If he hadn't behaved so inappropriately at my party and then tried to blame me for Vanessa's reaction, none of this would have happened. This morning, I got a disturbing call from my dad. He told me that last night, Marcus showed up at his house completely drunk. Despite the fact that my dad hasn't been speaking much to Marcus lately, he made it clear that he wouldn't engage with him until Marcus apologized to me for his behavior. He couldn't just leave his son outside in the cold. According to my dad, Marcus was underdressed for the weather and seemed to have walked a considerable distance to get there, which was concerning given how intoxicated he was. Once inside, Marcus apparently had a complete breakdown. He started crying and accusing everyone in the family of abandoning him and siding with me. He kept saying that no one ever loved him and that everyone always preferred me over him. My dad tried to comfort him, explaining that this wasn't about taking sides but about Marcus's behavior and his refusal to acknowledge how his actions affect others. But Marcus was too drunk and emotional to have a rational conversation. He eventually passed out on my dad's couch, but when my dad woke up in the morning, Marcus was already gone. My dad has tried calling and texting him to make sure he's okay, but Marcus hasn't responded. This incident has left me feeling conflicted. On one hand, I'm worried about Marcus's well-being. Showing up drunk at our dad's house, walking in the cold without proper clothing, and having an emotional breakdown aren't signs of someone who's in a good place mentally. On the other hand, I can't help but feel like this is just another manifestation of the same pattern, Marcus making everything about him and playing the victim when faced with the consequences of his own actions. I still don't understand why he's always viewed our relationship as a competition. I never wanted to compete with him. I just wanted to live my own life and have my own identity, separate from being a twin. It's frustrating and sad that he couldn't see that, and instead interpreted my desire for independence as some kind of threat or rejection of him. My dad is worried about Marcus and feels torn between us. He loves us both and hates seeing us at odds, especially now that we're adults. I know it's hard for him, especially since Mom died. She was always better at mediating between us and helping us see each other's perspectives. Without her, the fractures in our relationship have only deepened. As for me, I'm continuing to focus on my health. My doctors are pleased with my progress, and I'm gradually regaining the weight I lost due to my condition. Nathan continues to be my biggest supporter, and I'm grateful every day for his patience and love throughout this ordeal. I still have no desire to engage directly with Marcus, but I am genuinely concerned about his mental state. I've asked my dad to let me know if Marcus contacts him again or if he has any reason to believe Marcus might harm himself. In the meantime, I'm trying to put this whole situation behind me and focus on the positive aspects of my life. I've picked up some old hobbies that I had to set aside while I was at my sickest, and it feels good to be active and creative again. I'm also spending more quality time with friends who have been supportive throughout all of this. Life is too short to be consumed by negativity and drama, especially when you've faced a serious health crisis that puts everything in perspective. Update 3. It's been a little over a week since my last update, and I'm still processing what happened yesterday morning. I was getting ready to start my workday. I work from home, when I heard shouting outside my house. I immediately recognized Marcus's voice, and my first thought was that I needed to get him to quiet down before the neighbors got involved. I live in a pretty quiet neighborhood, and the last thing I wanted was to create a scene that would make everyone uncomfortable. I opened the door and told Marcus to lower his voice, saying that whatever he wanted to say to me, he could say without disturbing the entire street. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. My first thought was that he was here to confront me about Vanessa leaving him or to blame me for the family cutting him off. I was already mentally preparing for an argument. But to my complete surprise, Marcus told me he wasn't here to fight. He said he came to apologize. I was so taken aback that I just stood there silently while he continued talking. He admitted that he had always been jealous of me, even though there was no real reason for it. He said that from a young age, he had convinced himself that I was somehow getting preferential treatment or that people naturally liked me more than him, even though deep down he knew that wasn't true. He acknowledged that his behavior at my recovery party was inexcusable and that he deserved the fallout that came afterward. Losing Vanessa had been a wake-up call for him. She had apparently told him in no uncertain terms that his obsession with competing against me was unhealthy and that she couldn't be with someone who was so consumed by jealousy and resentment. He realized that his issues had cost him not just his relationship with Vanessa, but with most of our family as well. Marcus admitted that he still has complicated feelings about our relationship and that he struggles with feelings of inadequacy when comparing himself to me. But he also recognized that these feelings were his problem to deal with, not mine, and that his behavior had been self-destructive and hurtful. The most surprising part was when he told me he had scheduled his first therapy appointment for next week. He said he knew he needed professional help to work through these issues that had dominated so much of his life. He wasn't expecting me to forgive him right away or for us to suddenly have a close relationship again, but he wanted me to know that he was genuinely sorry and was taking steps to change. After he left, I called Nathan and then my dad to tell them what had happened. My dad confirmed that Marcus had visited him as well to apologize for his drunken behavior and for putting him in the middle of our conflict for so many years. My dad was cautiously optimistic about Marcus's apparent change of heart but warned me not to get my hopes up too high too quickly. In the days since then, I've heard from several family members that Marcus has reached out to them as well, acknowledging his behavior and asking for a chance to rebuild their trust. Many of them contacted me first to check if I was okay with them reconnecting with Marcus, which I appreciated. I told them all the same thing, that while Marcus and I have agreed to maintain our distance from each other for now, I don't expect or want others to cut him out of their lives on my behalf. If he's genuinely trying to change and make amends, he deserves the chance to do so. As for me, I'm continuing to focus on my recovery, which has been progressing well. My doctors are pleased with my improvements, and I'm gradually returning to my normal activities, though I still have to be careful not to overexert myself. Nathan has been incredible throughout this entire ordeal, and this experience has made me even more appreciative of the genuine, supportive relationships in my life. I don't know if Marcus will stick with therapy or if he'll truly be able to overcome the issues that have plagued him for so long. I don't expect us to ever have the kind of close twin relationship that some siblings enjoy. Too much has happened between us, and some bridges, once burned, can't be fully rebuilt. But I do hope that he finds the peace and self-acceptance that he's been lacking, and that eventually, we can at least have a cordial relationship as adult siblings who respect each other's boundaries. In the meantime, I'm embracing this period of relative calm and focusing on the future. My health continues to improve, my marriage is stronger than ever, and for the first time in a long while, I feel like I can move forward without constantly looking over my shoulder, wondering when the next conflict with Marcus will erupt. Whether this peace lasts or not, I'm determined to make the most of it and continue prioritizing my well-being and happiness.